Well, we're not just gonna let you walk out of here.
Who's we, sucker?
Smith, and Wesson, and me.
Hello everyone, I'm Brett, and welcome to Nightwood Guns. Today we are talking about the Smith and Wesson Performance Center Model 629 Competitor. Now I'm really excited to review this gun because this is actually my favorite revolver that I've ever owned, and in my opinion, this is the best 44 Magnum revolver that you can buy for your money. Now if you've been around my channel for any amount of time, then you know that I have a penchant for having to send firearms back to the factory. I did have to send this gun back to Smith and Wesson, so be sure to stick around to see why I had to send it back and how Smith and Wesson handled it. If you love the videos that I make here at Nightwood Guns and you'd like to support the channel, I have a Patreon link in the description below. It's brand new and I would love to see your support over there. It truly makes a difference in making these videos happen. And of course, I'm an author. I wrote 2 awesome short novels, link in the description below if you're looking for something to read. So if you're ready for the review, without further ado, let's take a look at my favorite hand cannon, the Smith and Wesson 629 Competitor. This here's the 44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world. Could blow your head clean off. So the first thing that you're going to notice about the Competitor is its really cool futuristic Destiny hand cannon looking barrel. So this is the first thing that really sets it apart. This is actually a barrel with a weighted underlug, and these that you see in there are little weights that you can feed through the hollow lug to increase the weight at the end of the barrel. So why would you want to weight the end of the barrel? Well, first of all, if you're taking a long distance or precision shot, having weight at the end of the barrel really helps you steady the gun. It takes a little bit of the wobble out of your grip, and just that weight at the end just lets it hang right where it needs to be so that you can touch off your shot just the way you want. And the second reason pretty much speaks for itself. It keeps muzzle rise down. The more weight you have out at the end, the less muzzle rise you're gonna get. But this is a double-edged sword, so be sure to stick around for the negatives to see why that might actually be a bit of a downside and how you can tune it to fit your needs. Now the best part about the weighted barrel is it actually comes with plastic filler inserts so you can tune the weight of the barrel to your needs. So basically you just unscrew this and then you can pull all of the weights out and you can insert some weights, some plastic inserts, full weights or full plastic inserts. This gives you a lot of versatility in tuning the recoil and return to zero on the gun to your specific requirements. The versatility of this alone makes the gun worth its price tag. So while this gun is called the Competitor, it is very clearly built for competitive shooting, and I think this thing would really excel in any kind of bullseye, bowling pin, or steel challenge shooting. That steel challenge, if you put 44 specials in this thing, with that weighted barrel, I would imagine that you could just rip and tear with this gun on the steel. So other than this awesome barrel and the scope mounts on the top of it, the other things that set this apart as being a performance center are the performance center engraving. Hey, look at that. That's always a plus. That way you know what you got. You also get a Patridge style front sight. And what that is that is just a very straight, flat, non-slanted, rectangular front sight. This is apparently one of the easiest iron sight pictures for the human eye to pick up, just the overall shape of it. So I have to say that I've had excellent shooting experiences with this sight setup system. It definitely really screams out to your eyeball, and you can really touch off precision shots with ease. You also get an LPA adjustable rear sight, and it's actually removable as well. So if you wanted to put an optic on there, you could get an aftermarket optic mounting plate that would fit right on there, and you can have your red dot if you didn't want to toss a scope or a red dot up front here on the barrel. Really, you want to mount it wherever the weight feels best to you. And this LPA adjustable rear sight is also serrated to help keep the glare down, and it is also very squared off and rectangular to complement the Patridge style front sight. Other than that, this has a performance center tuned action and trigger. Now, if you are somebody who has owned Smith and Wesson revolvers that are older, definitely pre-lock, maybe even some that were made in the 60s and 70s, then you will know that those triggers were like butter. The actions were very smooth, and they shot themselves. They were truly manufactured by craftsmen. The modern day performance center triggers definitely mimic that. They add a little bit of attention to detail and really smooth out the action. The action on this thing is incredibly smooth. You can really stage that trigger if you need to, and the entire pull front to back is just absolute butter. Smooth, no creep. The single action on this thing is also phenomenal. Not that that's particularly difficult, but on the Performance Center, it really stands out because the trigger does not have a lot of over travel, and it's not hair trigger light, but it's light enough for you to be able to tell the difference. Man, that's so smooth. This firearm also has a fat, checkered, teardrop style hammer that makes it very easy to cock for single action fire. So whether you're doing precision shooting single action or action shooting like Steel Challenge double action, the Performance Center trigger has got you covered. So in my opinion, with the weighted barrel that allows the gun to just hang out there very steadily with low effort, it's a very smooth, buttery, single action trigger that has almost no travel, the ability to mount a pistol scope or a red dot, its Patridge style front sight with the adjustable rear sight. This gun would make an excellent hunting handgun, if not the best option for a hunting handgun. This 629 Performance Center has an abundance of shootability and aesthetics, making it my favorite revolver that I've ever owned. Now, the coolest model of the 629 competitor to own is the pre-lock model that has an unfluted cylinder, all stainless steel with polished flats, and I actually believe it might even have the firing pin on the hammer. Man, that thing is the absolute dream to have, but this is an extremely close second, since those are very rare and very expensive, as if this also isn't. This gun is just an absolute dream no matter what model you get. They even make this in a 686 chambered in 357 Magnum. The competitor is just truly an incredible, innovative, and versatile design. So is it worth the price tag? I would say absolutely yes, it is. This is the best shooting revolver I've ever fired. And in my opinion, the bump up to Korth is not worth the squeeze. If you have the means, then absolutely Korth is the best revolver you can get. But you hit a point of diminishing returns that is just not really worth it, especially when you can get the competitor. This thing has a very unique and distinct profile, and it really makes you appreciate Smith and Wesson designing this thing to not only perform great, but to look great too. So this thing is chambered in 44 Magnum, and it's not gonna rattle your teeth like a 454 Casull, and it's not going to liquefy your internal organs like a 500 Smith and Wesson or a 460 Smith and Wesson, but it definitely still has enough punch to do what you need to do with a Magnum caliber. Whether it's taking game or blowing up watermelons, this gun offers the perfect balance between power and shootability that I really haven't seen in many other revolvers. This thing is incredibly shootable for the power that it can put out. So as you know, on this channel, you always get real takes from me. Let's talk about some negatives, constructive criticism, and why I had to send this gun back to Smith. So first of all, let's talk about the weighted barrel and why it's a bit of a double-edged sword. So first of all, the weighted barrel, like I said, allows you to easily keep the gun steady with the weight out there at the end, and it really tames the muzzle rise on this thing. However, physics works both ways, and what goes up must come down. And when you have full weights in this gun and you're shooting full power 44 Magnum loads, sometimes the gun can actually dip lower than you want when you're trying to return it to zero, just because it's heavier. But this is remedied by Smith & Wesson providing you with the plastic inserts so that you can tune return to zero exactly how you want it based on the load that you're shooting. When you're shooting a Magnum load, the further up it goes, the harder it's gonna wanna come down. But obviously that's a trade-off because the less weight there is out there, the more muzzle rise you're going to have. So you can tune this thing to return to zero exactly the way you want it. If you're shooting Steel Challenge with this thing and you're ripping 44 specials through it, you can play around with the weights in this thing to get it returning to zero exactly like you want, and making sure it's not too heavy so it doesn't take you too long to transition between targets. But since the vast majority of my shooting with this gun is single action, slow fire precision shooting, I keep the full weights in it. But I definitely did notice that weight dragging the barrel down when I was shooting this thing rapid fire for the slow-mo footage. So the Patridge style front sight that's just straight up, very rectangular, is very easy for your eye to pick up. However, it's got sharp corners on there. Now, it's not like it scrapes you or pokes you or anything, but what it does is it catches on things and it can round off those edges and make them kind of shiny, which distracts from your sight picture. So just be sure to protect the front sight a little bit. You don't want to get too hasty banging this thing around if you want to maintain that very squared off front sight. And also, since the Patridge sight is so tall and rectangular, much like a really tall suppressor height sight, it can snag on stuff. So if you're going to use this thing for any kind of woods defense or woods carry, be sure you're aware of that front sight and what you're snagging it on. So this also has a glass bead blast finish, which is fairly common on a lot of their Performance Center offerings. And while it is an absolutely gorgeous finish, I mean, I am just head over heels about this bead blast finish. It doesn't hold up too well to humidity. You will start to see some small pucks of rust on there. So if you're gonna get this thing and you live in a humid state, be sure to treat this thing with Ezox or keep a coat of Renaissance wax on there, or just keep the gun oiled to avoid any kind of rusting. Now, I know there are going to be some people watching this that are like, well, modern Smith and Wessons and modern performance center revolvers aren't what they used to be. They aren't as high of quality. And you know what? You're right to an extent. I mean, it's just a fact that gone are the days of craftsmen paying attention to every little detail on the gun before it goes out the door. You know, Lou Horton's not going through every single performance center revolver and tuning it up. These are mass-produced firearms, and the performance centers just get a little extra attention to detail on the way out the door. They get some extra R&D to add some really unique industry-defining features to them, like this weighted barrel, and they get their triggers and actions tuned up beyond what the factory normally does. So if you're going to buy a modern production revolver and you want one that is very high quality with the best trigger and action you can get, the Smith & Wesson Performance Center is the way to go. And in the last couple of years, 2020 to 2022, with the panic buying and every firearm manufacturer having trouble keeping up, you're going to run into some quality control issues, but just know that Smith & Wesson is going to 100% take care of you and make sure that you are satisfied. Now, I've had this gun since 2012, and when I first got it, it had a little chip right here in the seam in the back of the frame where it meets the hammer from the factory, just a legit chip right out of the gun. And I contacted Smith & Wesson about it, told them that I was dissatisfied. They said send it back, and they had it completely fixed up and turned around to me in about 3 weeks. My customer service experience was exceptional. So I would say buy with confidence. Smith & Wesson will take care of you. They'll make sure that you're good to go. Now, this competitor does come with the grip that has the exposed metal backstrap. And if you wanted to make this an even cushier shooting experience, you could throw an X-frame grip on here that would really help absorb that recoil. But to me, I actually like the one with the exposed backstrap on there. It allows me to just get a really high grip up on the revolver so I can keep the muzzle rise down even more and shoot this thing very quickly. You know, I have to say, this Smith & Wesson 629 Performance Center, not only is it my favorite revolver of all time, it's actually one of my favorite guns of all time. From the Performance Center tuned action and trigger, to its weighted barrel, to its incredibly cool aesthetics, man, this gun is just an absolute dream, and I would wholeheartedly recommend it to anyone. This gun is another contender for a perfect 10 out of 10. If it's not a 10, it's real damn close. But this gun with its 6-inch barrel is exactly the revolver you're looking for if you want a high quality 44 Magnum for recreation, for hunting, or for competition. This revolver truly impresses and has reached dream gun status. If this was a weapon drop in a video game, it'd be legendary. Leaving a comment down below, liking this video, and most importantly, subscribing to this channel tells YouTube that they should show my videos to more people. So if you want to help this channel grow, be sure to take a moment and type those keys and tap those buttons for me. In the description, you can find a link to my brand new Patreon page. You can find a link to pick up my books if you're looking for something truly awesome to read. You know that I'm truly grateful for your support of this channel in any way you can offer it. Thanks for stopping by and checking out this video today. It was good to see you, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm Brett, and this was Nightwood Guns. Nightwood out.